All right, so you're ready to start building trimming a foot into the bottom of your project. Okay, I've got my project here. We can see that the bottom of it isn't quite that even. It's nice and flat on the bottom, but it's pretty heavy because of the excess weight that I have down there, and also I want to make it a little bit more decorative. Okay. Now, you'll notice that on the potter's wheel, there are these lines here, these circles that go around. These circles are there to help you recenter your project, because when you made it, it was perfectly centered. Or at least that's what we want to believe. If it wasn't perfectly centered, it's not the end of the world. We can at least get it back to close enough. But the idea is that if it is perfectly centered, or if it was perfectly centered when we made it, then we can recenter it perfectly so that we can trim a nice even foot in the bottom of it. The way that's going to go is we're going to do that by turning this upside down. All right. Hopefully we can see that okay. All right, so I'm going to take my vase, I'm going to turn it upside down, and I'm going to place it so that it is close to the middle of one of those rings, okay, so that they're evenly spaced around that ring, okay, and hopefully in the video you guys can see it, but you can see that if I spin this around, okay, this line right here is about evenly spaced all the way around. It's a little bit closer in a couple areas, but we're going to work on figuring that out. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try and leave this like this so you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my needle tool. If I got to back up far enough. Maybe I can back up here. There we go. Maybe that'll work. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my needle tool. I'm going to spin my wheel slowly, not very fast. Okay. Slowly going to start moving my needle tool here until it touches. And it's going to make a little line in the side of my project. Okay. Now hopefully, where'd that line go? All right. So the line starts about here and it ends about here. All right. And what that tells me is that is the area of my vase that is the furthest from the center. The middle of that line is the single point that's the furthest from the middle. So what I need to do is move that single point towards the middle of the potter's wheel, okay, so that it will be more centered, okay? Now when I do this and I'm moving it ever so slightly. I don't want to move it too much. I don't want to move it too far at a time, just little corrections as we go, all right? And you can see the movement in the top of my clay here. Okay, you can see it bouncing around a little bit. So I'm going to repeat that process. I slowly start moving my tool closer. And once it hits, I stop moving it any closer so that I can see exactly where that is. All right? Helps to have your glasses so you can see what the heck you're doing. Okay. So my line, my new line goes from here, goes around to here. All right? I find the point in the middle, move that a little bit closer. And again, very, very small corrections at a time. And you just repeat this process until you get a line that goes all the way around the entire thing. So that way it would tell you that it's more even. And you can see that this is moving less and less. Okay. Now one thing you may have to do, I'm going to go ahead and use my finger here to smooth this out so I've got a smooth area, just because of the way I designed that bottom, the foot of it there, when I trimmed it as I was making it. Okay, so my line goes from here around to here. It's getting a little bit longer as I do this. There we go. And it just makes an ever so slight line. Let me find the end of it. I think it goes from here around to here, so it's a little bit more. Move it just a little bit. there to there. It's almost all the way around. And you want to take your time with this. Make sure you get it just right. Like I said, you can see that this is barely moving here. The top part might be a little bit off because of the way I did that, like I said, when I trimmed it while I was making it. And that's pretty darn close. I think that's about as close as I can get it. It may not come out absolutely perfect, but it should be pretty good. All right. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to secure my vase to the wheel head. And the way I'm going to do that is that's where that extra little chunk of clay that I had is going to come in. And I'm going to take 2 small pieces. I don't know, roughly the size of, a large gumball, I guess you could call it. But just small pieces. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 2 at a time, and I'm going to press down into the wheel head to then cause the clay to kind of envelop up over that. If you saw, I pushed down this way. I don't want to push in towards the center of my project because I don't want to dent it. I don't want to, damage it or disform it. If that happens, not only could it mess up my project and keep it from being straight cylindrical shape, but I could also end up moving my project around, and that would be bad because I just spent all that time recentering it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do 2 more on the other opposite side. So I've got 4 pieces that are holding this in. Now that's not going to go anywhere. All right, now we're ready to go ahead and start trimming. Show you that in the next one.